Hello everybody and welcome back for another video of DIY investing. Over the last couple weeks, I've been diving into a lot more altcoin setups for day trading purposes. For this video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys 10 altcoins that I found over the last couple weeks, and I think that these are altcoins that you guys should be keeping on your radar over the next couple weeks to months to follow. If these altcoins set up like I think that they will, I think that you'll be able to make a lot of profit on your investments, so these are some that you should be watching out for. Thank you guys so much for the support. You guys are awesome. If you're new and just finding me, make sure you do yourself a favor by subscribing to this channel so you get more awesome updates. If you guys want more awesome analysis, click the invitation link in the description of this video, and there you're going to find my Discord server. Alright guys, let's jump right in the video today. So first up on the list is a little bit of an older coin that one of my friends actually made a lot of money trading back here in the 2017 cycle. Now, I like this coin for a few different reasons. Reason number one is we're approaching our strongest support that we've held since back in 2017. And so by us coming back down to these levels, I think it's important that we hold here, but I also think it's more likely that we do hold here instead of falling lower. I think that this, with the altcoins kind of playing out how they have thus far, I think it's more likely that they are going to hold, but we're going to have to watch and see. It'd be nice if we could get some increasing volume coming in here, which we haven't seen thus far. But to me, this reminds me a little bit of early day Bitcoin, where we had these sharp declines in price, these sharp volatile swings, and then we had this last little capitulation sell-off before making kind of our double bottom. And so I think that this could be a similar accumulation where we kind of just chill here at this support level for a while. So this is one that I'm going to be watching out for. But really at these levels, picking up a small bag just to the all-time high is looking about like a 28x return. And so this is something that you can kind of buy and forget about, take a small reasonable risk position and kind of hold on to that for a while. But at this support level, I think that you have a really good buying opportunity. And who knows, we might even come back down. It is probable that we could come back down and test this lowest support level. We're just going to have to watch and see kind of what happens with these altcoins. But this is one that I'm watching. This is number one on the list, and that is Redcoin. Next up today is going to be Ignis. Now, Ignis is one, and this is, I think, a good setup that a lot of alts are going to be following. Now, what it appears to me and what I am seeing is this looks like very obvious accumulation. Now, what you see generally is a strong sell-off, and then you start to see kind of that rounded bottom formation. We'll make lower lows until finally we hit a pretty substantial low in the market that we don't break any further down from. And that's when you see this real accumulation take place. Something that I like to watch for during accumulation, in early accumulation before maybe big moves happen, are these big wicks that you're seeing right here. This big wick took us all the way up to this resistance, and what happened shortly after was a big explosive move that took us just barely above that wick. Now, something that I watch out for during accumulation, and even just bull markets in general, is these wicks can oftentimes tell you where the impulse is about to go to. So if you see a lot of wicks, oftentimes it dictates where the next impulse is going to go. And we didn't really go too much higher above this move shortly after that. Now, the reason why I point this out is because after the impulse right here, we saw a lot of new volume come in. And I think that this is an important setup to be watching out for amongst altcoins that you could be potentially looking for setups, is look for the ones with the most volume, because that's the ones that are actually getting bought up. Now, what generally happens is after accumulation, you'll have a whale come in here, and this could have been that wick that we're seeing. That could have been the whale buying up and accumulating right here, and that would have led to this impulsive move. Now, that's kind of the way crypto works. After this big volume breakout, I would be expecting to see a pretty sizable impulse coming after this. Now, what we've seen thus far is we have broken from our descending resistance. Now, we're going to watch and see kind of how we consolidate here. It is possible we could drop back within this resistance, or it is possible we could start going up. I'm going to be waiting just a little bit before taking a position, but I'm just really keeping these alts on your radar. I think that there will be a better buying opportunity. We're just going to have to watch for a little bit less risky of a setup. But with this volume coming in, these are altcoins that I want you guys to pay attention for, because it just exited an accumulation phase with a massive volume breakout, which means people are buying this. Now, generally what happens after a huge increase in volume and a breakout, as long as we're creating higher highs, there's no reason to think that this trend is going to continue to go down. I think it's more likely that we go up, retest some of these higher resistance levels, maybe up here. Now, from where we're at currently, let's get our trading plan tool. If you were to buy today, you're looking at about a 500% return up to this previous resistance, and just to the all-time high of this move right here would be about 187%. So these are low cap coins that I think that you could make a lot of profit on, especially in the early days of Bitcoin's cycle. Now what happens is you'll find the high caps will come in and take a lot of that market dominance. They'll lead the impulses with Bitcoin. Then once they kind of top out, that money starts to trickle down in some of these lower caps. And so these are some that you should pay attention for with this coming cycle. Next up is going to be AON. This is one that I've been watching for a little bit because it looks to be setting up for a pretty profitable cycle. Now, I actually had a trade set up inside of my Discord that was similar to this. We bought some down in here, and then I bought it because I saw this big impulse and a big wick come in. Now, generally, like I said previously, the way that I trade these wicks is I'll take a position and I'll just target the top of the wick. Because generally price, the way it kind of looks now is this looks to be the potential for a 1, a 3, and then a 5 impulse. Now I think the 5 could take us upwards of this wick right here. We don't have to necessarily break too far above that. And so this is kind of the way that I would look to play this strategy, is just by trading up to that resistance of the wick. Now I point this out because this looks like obvious accumulation. A very perfect rounded bottom formation, a nice volume breakout that came in here with a sizable impulse up. Now what we need to see here before I'm going to buy is a breakout above to where it looks as if we're going to be holding support. Now until we really break out of any descending resistance, I'm just going to continue to be bearish. Probably something like that. Just watch and see. But with this coming up, if I drop this to a log scale, it looks like we have the potential for a bull flag formation. And so this is kind of what I'm going to watch and play. But I'm going to wait for the breakout before I do look to enter that market to be playing it. And so that's kind of the way it looks to me. It looks as if we could be coming back down to retest this trend line. Something to point out is the fact that trend lines can and will be broken a lot of the time with cryptocurrency, so you can't base your entire strategy around one trend line. But I do have this bias that this has the potential for a bull flag, and so I think that if we're going to come and continue to break up higher, I think that it's important that we do so around this trend line, considering the fact we are also coming back down to these low critical support levels. So that's what I'm going to be watching out for with this. Maybe draw this trend line just a little bit further out. But this is one to keep on your radar, because if this does break up back higher into this resistance of the wick, then I think you could be seeing something of about, close to 250% increase back up there. So this is one to watch out for. Just one that I'm paying attention for. Not necessarily ready to take positions, but one I'm keeping on my radar. Now this one, guys, is one of my favorites. This one is called Prism. It's definitely a low cap coin. It's one that I was just kind of randomly scouring through CoinMarketCap and found. Now the reason I chose this is because of the volume that's coming in, and what appears to me a lot of accumulation taking place here. What we see is a very obvious trend, bull trend with higher highs, now inclining volume that is continuously increasing. Now what I'm watching for currently before I would look to take a position is this resistance here. Let's actually pull up the ray. About right here in this area, we have this resistance, and we've wicked up and hit it a number of different times. Now this setup reminds me a little bit like a DigiBytes setup in accumulation, only this one has a lot more volume coming in. The biggest reason for me wanting to buy this is because it looks a little bit like a double bottom. Now the fact that we're continuously making higher highs and an inclining trend, that indicates to me that people are buying this, and this is going to continue to go up. Now based off of these wicks hitting this resistance, it's obvious that this is an important level that we need to break above. If we can break above this level, I would be looking to buy a retest of that, because that retest is going to set up for a pretty profitable trade setup. Now depending on where you target in the next cycle, for the breakout I should say, what I can say is that you could take the average point where pretty much every one of these has hit at least once in that last move, and then you could also take something a little bit higher and target some of these wicks up here, maybe like right there. And then if you really wanted to get a little bit more risky, maybe something here. right? And this is a way, this kind of goes along with that channel trading strategy I just taught you guys recently. And it also just kind of goes along with horizontal support and resistance as a whole. But this is the same way that we implemented the channel trading strategy. And so I wanted to share this coin with you because it's kind of following along nicely with that setup. If we can break out of this resistance at about 34 cents, buying the retest doesn't look to be too bad of a setup. And I think that if you could do that, potentially, maybe something like right here, that next target's about 160%. And so that's a pretty good setup. Now, if you target anything higher than that, that's about 250%. And then up here of about 500%. And so I think that we can hit that, considering the fact that we have a lot of volume coming in here, a big accumulation pattern. This is a very obvious accumulation taking place, and so this is one to be watching out for, and that's Prism. Alright guys, this is IOTX. Now IOTX is a little bit more risky of a setup, but I wanted to point it out because I do think that it's about to break out soon. Not one I'm necessarily looking to take positions in quite yet, but one that I am keeping on my watch list. Now if we come in here, we can see that we've had this resistance that's held us for the length of the bear market. Now this is a little bit more biased of an approach, drawing this bottom support, but I think it's possible that we could come back down and touch this. Now I don't think it's as likely, and I'll show you why. If we pull up our RSI, I like to use this for these bigger term market cycles because they're gonna point to the potential of a breakout. Now, obviously, I'm not gonna wait to buy. I'm gonna wait to buy this until we do get a confirmed breakout. But the RSI is showing that the reversal has the potential to be taking place soon because the momentum is shifting in the bullish favor. Now, what we see here is we had a lower low from the point of here to the point of here, right? Here to here, we had a lower low, but we did maintain a higher high on the RSI. Now, every time we've made a higher high on the short term of the RSI, here, bullish divergence, we make a breakout move. Now, we have had a higher high on the RSI since here, all the way throughout this dip that we're experiencing now. We've had a higher high on the RSI, which is generally pointing that the momentum is slowly dying out. But you guys got to remember that it can continue to stay oversold for long amounts of time. This is a long move that's been taking place right here. And I'll show you guys what I mean. If we take the bottom of that to where we're at, about 430 days we've been going down with higher highs on price. So this is where the bullish divergence can be a little bit misleading, but that's why it's important to be able to wait for a confirmed breakout before taking trades and looking to average into a position. Now what I see right here is the fact that we have maintained a higher high in price. Now on the shorter term, what we're seeing here is a retrace that's taken us back down to one more final lower low. Now from that lower low, from here to here, we've had another bullish divergence, right? So another bullish divergence there. Let's delete this. And if we come in here a little bit further on even the smaller time frame, we're going to see that we're getting a lot of bullish divergence taking place right here. And so from a shorter time frame perspective, I think that we are showing a lot of exhaustion on the short term right down in here in these levels, and then also on the bigger picture from this low to this low and this high to this high on the RSI. And so I think that we're close to that breakout point. So this is one that I want you guys to keep on your watch list. I would personally wait for the breakout of this major descending resistance before looking to accumulate, just so that you're playing it a safer bet. There isn't a lot of volume, so there's nothing telling us necessarily that this trend has reversed yet. So wait for the breakout, but I think that this is one that's showing short-term bearish exhaustion, and so I think that you guys should be watching out for this, because if we could get a breakout and we could claim kind of a higher high, I think that this one would be setting up for a pretty solid return on investment. I mean, you could target like 160% upwards of these resistance levels, 120%. So just one to be watching out for, and that's IOTX. Alright guys, next up is the coin that started alt season. If you guys can remember way back then, this was the first impulse that we saw. Really, Engine was that first leader of the altcoins that we saw. Really, that first parabolic run. I think it did a 10x on the Bitcoin pair, and so it was really that first big mover. Remember, Litecoin led the pack, but really Engine was the big alt season winner for that first major rally that we saw. Now, Engine appears to me coming back down to these lower support levels. This was our low of the cycle, and we're back down retesting those very low levels. with a major descending resistance. Now really, we had a very solid volume that came in here at the bottom of these with the breakout. Now what you generally see with these market cycles, and what I look for when looking to accumulate for a profitable setup, is you want to have a lot of volume come in. And that's what we saw with this breakout here. That generally means that a lot of new monies came in and entered the market. And this is what happens after a big impulse. Generally what I'm going to wait for when I see this, after the breakout, you want to wait to buy this until we actually move out of this descending resistance. Once we move out of this descending resistance, that's where I would be looking to take positions, because then I would expect another big impulse that would most likely take us much far above this all-time high mark. These are what happens after the bottom or the terminal end of a correction. We saw this with stellar lumens back in 2017. Now, even though that was the Bitcoin pair, it's still relatively the same setup because it's market cycles at the end of the day. This one full retrace just like stellar lumens. And what we saw at the bottom of stellar lumens market cycle was a big breakout, almost a full retrace, and then that was right before we went into our next impulse that took us past that all-time high mark. And so these are some altcoins that I want you guys to pay attention for, are the ones that had a full retrace, made a lot of volume at the terminal end of that correction, had a breakout, and then you're going to be waiting for that breakout of that descending resistance before looking to take position. So this is Engine. Remember, this was the coin that started alt season. So this is one that I'm actually going to be watching out for, just because I think that it could have the potential to make you a lot of money. Just wait for the breakout of that descending resistance. That's when you're going to get your key indication that this thing might be ready to move, and then go from there. Alright guys, next up is REN. This is a coin that a lot of people have talked about recently, and I just wanted to point this setup because it reminds me a little bit, or has the potential for like a cup and handle, or looks to be. Now it also appears to be drawing a bearish cup and handle at the same time, so you could also make that case, but I think it's more likely that the altcoins are going to go up. So what I'm seeing here, let's go from a Fibonacci perspective. What you want to see with Fibonacci and cups and handles is a retest of 618. We have hit that, and it does look like we're dipping a little bit below that. But remember guys, these are just zones. It doesn't have to be specifically right on the 618. It could drop a little bit lower, and so what I'd be watching for is a drop about to there. If we start going lower than that, then it's more likely that this isn't going to play out. But what we want to see is a very intense buyback from that. Now, the reason why I'm more bullish on this setup is just because if we go from an L8 wave perspective, we're going to see a very obvious 1, 3, and then 5 waves up, right? Now, 1, 3, and 5 is only a one-wave impulse, and so I would expect that we would continue to go up in this, especially with the volume coming in here. We've only hit this all-time high mark. We're selling off from that. We do have a lot of horizontal support zones that I would expect support to be found right in this area, and so with it lining up close to that 618 mark, I think that we have the potential for a cup and handle setup. Now these cup and handles are oftentimes some of the most profitable altcoin setups that you're ever going to find, and they do happen at the very start of a correction here, and that's kind of what we're seeing. We had our first correction, and now it's really our first market cycle. Now what happens if you do see an early market cycle that forms a cup and handle? Oftentimes you're about to see a super big explosion on the upside. Now, I think that you could target a 10x if it is a true cup and handle. That's generally what we see with altcoins, is a big explosive rally. Now, I'm just going to be watching this for the potential. I don't know if it's going to play out like this, but if this is accordance to Elliott wave theory, what we should see next is a 3-wave impulse. Now, the 3-wave is going to be the biggest move. I don't know exactly how high it's going to get, but if it gets really, really impulsive, you guys can count on making a significant return on investment. So, I mean, to the 2618 of the fib would be about 33 cents, and you can't really go wrong there. Maybe upwards of about 46 cents, but I think we have the potential to go even higher than that if this is a confirmed cup and handle. But this is what I'm going to be watching out for. This is REN, a lot of volume coming in here. Now, I like this setup because what we saw here was roughly the same sort of correction. This A, B, C retrace. And that's what we're seeing right here. A, B, C. Back down, and I think we'll drop off just a little bit more. So watch out for this. This is obvious accumulation that took place here. What you want to see is good volume. Good volume is also lining up with the cup and handle perspective. So this is what I'm going to watch out for. I love cup and handles because I have seen them perform some of the most profitable cycles, especially back in 2017. A lot of altcoins did that. in the big 2017 bubble. So this is Ren. Alright guys, next up is Lena. This is another low cap that I have found recently that looks like a perfect buying opportunity right now. Now what I see right now, what I see currently is we had a cycle high, a retrace, and what looks like accumulation. Now what you see as an accumulation is rounded bottom formations. We didn't have a lot of volume come in, but we did see these wicks. Now I like to see these wicks. The cool thing about this setup is we have a huge wick here and a huge wick here. The fact that we have made our higher high, we're consolidating just above this resistance, or what I would appear at this support level right here. With solid volume, I do expect us to come up and hit this wick. Now that wick is the top of this wick. I would target about here because this is where both points have hit in the past. Now, buying where we're at today to that wick would be about 212, 13%, right around that area. So this is an easy 2x opportunity, and I think we could even go much higher than that. Now, based off of this, it looks a little bit like this is a one wave before we have a three wave impulse. And this also could be because it did. So what this looks like to me looks like this is a 1, this was a 3, and this was a 5. So what that means is this is a 1 wave. This was the 1. We'll have a 3 wave impulse up a little higher, and then we'll have a final 5 wave that maybe takes us a little bit higher than this wick. But really my target would just be the wick because that's more likely it to hit and a good exit point in my opinion. So this is one of those low caps that I found recently that I think is going to perform well because I think it's setting up for another leg up. These wicks often tell the story of where the cycle's about to go. So I'm telling you guys, pay attention for these wicks because in my opinion it points to early accumulation in the cycle. Alright guys, next up is ONEChain. This is one that I'm actually pretty excited for, but it's got to prove to us that this is bullish. Now what I like about this is the fact that we had a cycle high and a very significant sell-off, but what appears to be down in these areas like we are experiencing short-term accumulation. Now what we saw is a little bit of a volume breakout, but we haven't been able to break out of the previous high. And until we do so, there's really no reason to think that this is bullish until we break out of about right there and continue to hold support above that. Then there's really no reason to think that we're bullish. But I do like the potential of this. I do like the fact that we have a little bit of volume coming in. This volume is about as equal to the cycle highs that we saw back in 2017. And so with this, I think that if we can break out of this resistance level here and actually make a higher high, that would be a good option for taking positions, because it would probably make an intense breakout from there. Now really where I would target for the potential if we do break out of there would be about here, here, and probably about there. These would be my 3 resistance levels, but we got to break out and actually hold support. That would be about 84, 150, and about 260%. Return, and it would even have the possibility to go higher than that. So that's why whenever you're trading these cycles, it's better when you're trading them like this to have a little bit of a stop loss. It depends what your strategy is. Now for me, I'm just looking to enter when it's the least risky time. So obviously you don't want to be buying now because we haven't broken out and made a higher high. So there's nothing telling us that the trend is reversed anytime soon. The fact that we have good volume is a short-term sign that the trend could be reversing. We do have bullish divergence on the RSI and have had since this point here. So we have had 3 consecutive lower lows in price. So the fact that we've done that is a little bit more indicative that the trend could have the potential to reverse. So with this volume increase, once we can break out, make a higher high, that would be your option for taking a position if you're going to. But it would have a really good risk to reward when it comes to making that impulse up. It would have about an 84% return just to that first resistance level that I would target. But you got to wait for that breakout of that resistance that we're seeing right here at about 51 cents. Alright guys, last up on the list is going to be Arcblock. This is one that I'm a little bit excited for and I've been watching for a few weeks now because I do like the potential that it shows. Now what we see here is we had a little bit of a cycle high. This was a little bit of a weird one. We had our first sell-off when it got added to the exchange. We impulsed from there and then we went to new lows. Now those new lows, what looks to be accumulation. Now accumulation, what I like to see are these rounded bottoms, but this one is a little bit shorter term. Now, what we saw here was bullish divergence. Generally, what we can look for at the bottom of cycles is bullish divergence on the RSI, and that's what we saw from here. And that led us to our first breakout. Now, that is what I indicate to early on accumulation, is when you do have a lot of bullish divergence on the RSI and a lower low in price, a lot of the times that can indicate that there is a momentum change with how accumulation is taking place, which means basically that the bears are dying out and the bulls are taking over. Now, we did see a couple volume increases that happened in here, but really I wouldn't have looked to buy this coin necessarily, but what we saw after was a breakout. This is where I am more interested in the coin, is after we've actually made an increase in price and we've had a nice volume increase come in. Right before this previously, I wouldn't have necessarily looked to buy. Now, this is the prime entry for accumulation, is right when you see the volume increase, we have the first little impulse, because that usually indicates that we're about to have a very strong breakout. And that's what happens shortly after that. And so what I'm watching out for now is where exactly we're going to find support. And where I would really target for a buyback would be about here. I would imagine we're going to sell off to this point, and this would be a good entry where you could set a short-term stop loss and kind of watch there. But if you're a little bit more skeptical and you're going to want to watch for that breakout. Now, let's say we come and hit this support level and we make a sizable impulse up. You'd probably want to buy the retrace of that impulse back up. But the fact that we have a lot of volume coming in here, we had a nice impulse from these lows, that's a very good sign that accumulation has taken place and that this cycle has been bought up. And so what I'm watching out for trading opportunities are coins that look to have entered accumulation with good volume and good breakouts from those volumes. Now, not all coins that I showed you have had breakouts, but I'm showing you guys what I'm watching out for resistance levels that need to be broken from before I would look to enter these. These are 10 altcoins that I have paid a lot of attention to over the last few weeks. I figured I'd share them with you guys so that you can keep them on your radar. Anyways, guys, thank you all so much for the support. This is what I had for you. If you guys found this video helpful, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to this channel if you're new. If you guys like this analysis, click the invitation link in the description of this video, and there you're going to find my Discord server for more awesome analysis like this. With that being said, I'll catch you in the next video. As always, peace out.